Okay, so on to yesterday's class. So guys, I hope you're well. I hope you're able to review a little bit, because the main thing, remember that I said, the the major thing for us to understand is that, one, you must always do these things after you have done them in class. There's no way you will understand these formulas, or even the syntax, or even the formatting, or even the most basic things, just like copying and pasting, without you starting to do them in class. Okay, so just a quick recap on yesterday. We looked at how to create a table, in which we said you can have your table just by going to the insert ribbon and inserting a table. In this point, you'll see that the table option is grayed out. Reason being that you cannot create a table, as this is already a table. Okay, so that is to note that I cannot again come and insert a table in here, since this is already a table. Okay, so the other thing of keen interest that we noted yesterday is how the table reference looks like. We said it is always the table name, then at the column name. So when you highlight this cell, maybe just to see, we equated our cell to cell. If we click here, you should be able to see cell R2. Okay, cell R2, whatever is in cell R2 comes from smartphones at this. Okay, so we said if you want to see where a formula comes from, you can always click inside the box or use the FN F2 button just to see where your formula comes from. All right. Okay, that was all about the table. So remember, this again, we said it's a different structure from what we had said earlier of absolute reference, relative reference. Then we looked at the mixed reference. Then at this point now we look at the table reference. So that was not a problem. Okay, so we started off on the formula. Okay, and we looked on the PowerPoint that you are having. We looked at the various arithmetic and comparison operators. Okay, so there we looked at the plus sign. Here we checked how the plus sign works. Okay, so we said when you want to add two things, I'll just delete this so I bring it closer. When you want to add maybe two things, you can always just insert the equal sign, then that cell plus that cell. Okay, maybe cell D3 plus E3, or you can always use the equal sign, the sum formula, in which you said if you want to know the syntax of a formula, you just go ahead, type it, sum, then you'll have number one and number two. So if I was to sum these two, I'll just, after I look at the syntax, you see the number, then it tells you after you click a number, just write in a comma. Okay, so after that point, I'll insert a comma, then I'll go to the next place and then insert a comma. Okay, I hope I'm well audible. I just want to know that I'm well audible and you can see my screen quite well, so that we don't experience any challenge. Okay, so sawa John, thank you. So for subtraction, we said if you want to subtract two things, two sums, two cells, you just select the two cells and then in between put the minus sign. Okay, so in between put the minus sign, and that will work well for you. So in between the two cells, put in the minus sign. Okay, so for multiplication, what did we say? Multiplication, we said for you to multiply two cells, you'll always use the asterisk. Okay, and the asterisk sign in between the two cells that you are multiplying. Remember, operations in Excel depends on the two cells or a range of cells. Okay, so for example, here we said you can always use another formula, written product. Okay, so you will I know a question in your mind will be, how do I know that this formula is needed for a certain operation? Okay, so basically you know what you want to do. Maybe I want to find a name in a certain list, so you have maybe a condition, and we'll check that just in the next slide as we go on to the next sheet. What informs, once you know what you want to do, you can always I always even I myself sometimes do look up on Google which formula can I use, and once I know which formula I can use for a certain problem, then I go ahead and use it. But the thing is, the main thing is, you must first understand the problem that you have. Okay, so these are conditions that requires me maybe to have a logical test, then after a logical test something else happens. Okay, just as you will see in the if formula. All right, so we said here you can use the product formula. So the product formula is very similar to the sum formula, in that the syntax gives you the first number, then the second number. So the first number, if you want to multiply these two numbers, you can just select that, then put in a comma, select this, and then find an answer. Okay, so we went ahead and checked our logical test. In the logical test, we saw that you can use the equal sign to check if two cells are equal. And what happens when they are equal, it gives you if they're not equal, it will give you a false. If they are equal, it will give you true. So here 4391 is clearly not equal to 5067, hence gives you a false. Okay, hope that is very clear. We also said you can use the greater than, you can use the greater than and equal to, and all that we had indicated in our notes on those operators. So in case you still have a doubt on how an operator is written, basically these are the most used operators. I wouldn't think there's any other that we left out. Not really, because you have the not equal to, you have the less than or equal to, greater than equal to, less than and greater than. So you can always use it as a point of reference in case you don't have any other. Okay, so we went on now, we left our operators and now went to our formulas. Okay, so we created a column here. All right, in column G we had we created a problem for ourselves so that we could see how formulas are used to maybe create a selection, create a sum, okay, and maybe create a decision. Remember, we said that the best thing about the if formula is the fact that it can automate some decisions in which you will have had to do manually. All right, so in this case we had we had a problem in which we said maybe you were told to find a phone whose market retail price is less than the sales price. Okay, so so what did we do? We decided now to write an if formula. Okay, so I'll just redo it. Maybe for anybody who missed it, I'll also remove the conditioning. So for you to remove formatting conditional formatting, you can only select the cells with conditional format. Go to your, I'll just expand my home ribbon here and pin it. You can always go to your home ribbon, then in the conditional format go to clear rules from the selected cell, so that you don't touch anything else on that worksheet. So I've cleared. So even if I write by here right now, it won't have a green. Okay, so guys, if you still have a question, kindly look very clearly, because I'm repeating how we created this column, and which will inform us on how we will work on we worked now around the sum ifs and all those kind of things. Okay, so here we said if you have a condition if, remember our logical test was to see if the market retail price is less than the sales price. Okay, so if that is true, remember we said this kind of thing. Okay, I can just even remove the if part. Okay, what if I did that? You see, this gives me a true solution. Okay, so if it is true, okay, so I've just put an if before this. You see, I've used the logical operator that we have said, because we are finding a phone that is whose price is less than the market retail price. So this phone, it's called, I don't know, Solo T100 Black 4GB. The price is less than this, the market retail price is less than the sales price, so it's true. So I just come and put in a condition if. Okay, so if will ask me for my logical test. All right, so for this logical test, okay, so you remember this answer is already true, so it comes and asks me what value do you want to get if the answer is true. So I said if the answer is true, then go ahead and buy. Okay. What if the answer is false? Go ahead, we said reject. Okay. Uh, anybody does anybody know why we are putting in some speech marks in here? You can type in the chat box. Why do you think we put in speech marks over here? I can see no answer yet. Anybody to unmute their mic and tell me why do you think we put these things inside speech marks? Okay, thank you, Kabila, because that is the right answer. Yes, only any text data type, for you not to get an error, it is highly encouraged. For one word it may work, but for two words you might find it not working. So while you're using one word, you might be lucky for it to work, but as a best practice, always when you're telling Excel to give you maybe an answer that is in text or a string format, just make sure that you put in the the speech marks. All right, so I'll go ahead and press OK. So but we said here again we wanted a conditional format just to see if it is equal to that by. Okay, so just type by here. We wanted it with a green. Okay, then we said okay, then we pulled it down. Okay, so guys, I hope you're together and you've seen how we did it yesterday. So that was our first part of the formula. Then we went straight to the sum ifs. So the sum ifs, we said now, okay, the sum if now builds up from the if condition, because you already know now the if condition uses a logical test to find a solution. Okay, so the sum if will now use it's also the same, but now it sums if a certain condition is met. Okay, for example, in the first place we wanted to sum if you were to buy all the phones that were written by, okay, if the phone this condition is met and it's a buy option here, we wanted to sum if maybe you're telling an investor to how much do you need for you to buy all the phones that have met our criteria, how will you do it? So you just go to sum if. Okay, so sum if will always ask you for a range. So what do you want to sum? I want to sum these options. Okay, okay, so you see you want to sum those options, either it's a buy or a reject. Okay, so for best practices, again I said always lock your cells or have absolute references to your ranges. It's very important, okay, because you might need to move the formula and you don't need a range to move. Okay, so the criteria we can just select any, because now we want a buy, we'll select a buy. Okay, then the sum range, what do you want to be summed? Remember, this was just the range. The first one was just the range, right? This one was just the range. This is the criteria from which you are choosing from the range. Now the sum range is what you want to be summed. Okay, kindly be keen, because in today's the project that we're going to, or rather the assignment that we're going to give you today, might have such, just to juggle up your mind and see if you're with us. Okay, so the thing is, just listen in carefully. So the sum range is this, what you want to sum. Okay, so Fn4, so I'll press OK. So we saw that the total sum of everything that was to be bought if you're buying the buy option is 52,122. Okay, so I hope up until then nobody has a problem. So the next thing we did is remember here, what we did here was just we created a unique list for both our options, because now we somebody asked us, what if I just wanted to sum all the LGs that are in this market? Okay, we said you go ahead to the sum if, you go select what you want, your range. Now the range could be the brand and then the criteria. Okay, and then now the sum range becomes what you want to sum. Okay, so remember our data was very, maybe we wanted maybe to check maybe a person from maybe the University of Nairobi or maybe Jomo Kenyatta. maybe they want to buy a certain phone of a certain maybe price, okay, of a certain, should be above a certain maybe star rating, maybe should be above a certain GB or RAM, okay. So we can just create something like that with those conditions, okay. Maybe we'll create at the end of the class so that you just get to see how you can use it for your formulas. Okay, so here we created a unique list for the phones and the unique list for the buy reject option so that they could help us build our validation. So we created our validation here with all the types of phones, and then now we created a validation with a buy reject option, okay. So for some ifs, now, for some, if we had only one condition to be met, okay, from this range, whatever we wanted now was either the only option we wanted from this is to be bought, okay, so buy the buy option. But now for some ifs, okay, for some ifs, we now have two conditions. We have more than one condition. We want a phone to be a certain type, which is a Lenovo, and then it should have the buy option under the created column, okay. So what did we go ahead and do? We went and said we look at the syntax. We can just recreate it so that we move on together. So here, all right, under the sum ifs, now the sum range comes first, okay. It's a bit different from the sum if because the sum if the range is at the end. Look at how the sum if this is the syntax for the sum if. So for the sum if, the range starts, then the criteria, then the sum range. But for sum ifs, okay, we start with the sum range, okay, what you want to sum, then you go to criteria 1, criteria range 1, then the criteria 1, okay. Okay, so here, okay, okay, so sum range, for example, here you wanted to sum the market retail prices, then criteria range 1, because we are using the phone, we want to the brand type, then our criteria now becomes the phone that we want to select, then our option, it must be under the buy option or this column. Now what criteria do you want to have? It must be the buy, okay. Now look at what happens. So for every, if we were to buy all Lenovos that we had pre-selected to buy, we'll only buy one Lenovo worth 9182, and that is what it gives you. So if you go to another, maybe an Asus, let's see how many Asus were there. Clearly none, because when you check here, all Asus were rejected by this condition that we had created earlier. All right. Remember, you can even now go ahead, even if you didn't have the sum if option, okay, you didn't have this criteria, you can just go ahead and create the criteria inside the sum if. That's the best thing about it. It's not like you'll have to first write the if here first so that you go ahead to use it on your sum if. No, whatever you'll need to do now is maybe just tweak a little bit of your condition here. All right, okay, so if you want to see that practically, I can help you see. You can just recreate this formula and then remove that part so that I can show you how to combine. Okay, I'm just writing here at the side so that nobody's confused. You can always use this option in which you do all things step by step, piecewise, or you can just combine it just as I'm doing so here. Remember, first we can just check our sum range, okay, that is our sum range. Our criteria range 1 is the font type, then criteria range 2 is that, then our criteria range 3 now is what will change to become, now we are checking this, okay, Okay, we'll check if let me just ensure that the criteria range is okay. This is less than this. Oh, we might have a little bit a small challenge because again this one may not work correctly because the this part needs to be at every point. That's why I think we get a 0 there. All right, let me just check for Lenovo. Yes, that's why it doesn't work correctly. Yeah, but you can always use this piecewise step because it will make sure you don't end up messing your your formula. Okay, so I'll just check on that. So the next thing we checked was the countifs family. We started with the count, in which we said a count only counts the numerical part in a set of range. Okay, so that only counts the numerical numbers. That's why here we had 20 items or 20 entries in this column, but only 19 were counted. For the counter option, what happens now is it counts everything, including the text and the numerical values. Okay, so we went ahead and did a countif, in which we said the countif, I'll just show you the syntax. Remember, for you to see the syntax, you'll always click inside the formula. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to see if this is clear. Yeah, so you can see how when I'm highlighting, yes, I believe you can see. So when you look at this, this just needs two entries, just the range and the criteria. So if you want to count something, for example, we wanted to count how many phones were rejected, we counted 7. How many were accepted, we counted the rest, which might just have been them. You can use the counter option or the count option minus the by option, or you can just count the rejected ones. Okay, whatever again floats your boat. The next thing now is the countif. The countif, just like the SUMIF, has two criterias. Okay, so you first, but this one, since it doesn't have the anything to be summed, it will miss the sum range. So if I was to convert this to a SUMIF, I'll just insert a sum range just before the criteria range 1. Okay, because that's the difference between a SUMIF and a countif. A countif lacks a sum range, in which a SUMIF has. Okay, so here you'll have your two criteria range 1 and criteria range 2, criteria range 1 and criteria 1, then criteria range 2 and criteria 2. Okay, so if I try to click criteria 3, I can't click it, because unless I want to add another criteria, that is when it will become active. All right, so up until that point, I think I've gone through everything and maybe explained in a newer way for anybody who didn't understand yesterday. And now whatever I want to is any question before now I move on to my next formula. Okay, let me just check. I can touch a little bit on the text column, text formulas, concatenate left, right. Then we go to our lookup formulas, because those ones are quite important in anything. Huh? Yes. Okay. No questions at all? I was just checking my notes to see that I've not missed anything. No question. I want to hear Elsie. Hi, Elsie. Elsie, are you with me? Melissa? Or Joel? Joel, are you trying to speak with a muted mic maybe? Just go ahead. you can hear him and I can't hear him on my end. Okay, maybe don't know, could be the issue. Oh, sorry. I had muted my speakers. Okay, Joel, go ahead. Go ahead. Joel?
Okay, I have this case study.
Okay. Uh-huh. Come again so that I get to understand your issue. I because I'm thinking about it in a two-piece in more of a like a two, you have two columns, right? Okay. Uh-huh. Maybe column one. Okay. Okay. Let me just open. Okay. So you have one that is entered on, I missed that date, but the second one is entered on 30th Jan. Uh-huh. So, mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You not really. Are you summing the difference in the prices of the difference? Are you summing the price differences in each? If I'm correct, let me just maybe add a column here. You tell me because I am not really sure. This minus this. Maybe this is the last date that you're suggesting, and this is the first date, just for example, and then you have a difference in that, okay? Then you have all the differences between all the cells. Now you want to sum if this difference. Am I getting it correct, Joel? Okay. All right. Let me just for okay, just okay. It's okay. So let's have mileage. Maybe vehicle A, B, C, and D. Right? They have mileage on maybe date one, 01 Jan. Okay. 2023. All right. Then they have another mileage on 30th. Maybe the mileage reads here 200, right? Maybe here it reads 400. Okay. Okay. Then I have 500 and another might come reading maybe 900 because it must be incremental if it's mileage and you're moving, right? Okay. Sawa. Then, now ask your question. Now what? Now ask it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do you mean? What do you mean by they're moving differently? Okay, so Joel, for just so that we don't again take too much of people's time, huh? I will just yes, you'll just structure your question better. Okay. If you can't handle it, you can just ask me for some guidance, all right? Even if there's something we call masking of data. If you don't want to share very important and sensitive data, you can always mask your data or anonymize your data, all right? So that it can be used by anybody. But if you wanted to sum if the difference of that and that, I think basically if you have understood the formula and you really know what you want to do, you will get it, okay? So guys, any other question? Thank you for that question. Joel, I think I will sort you in camera. Okay? If you don't have any other. Chris was asking about that. People are speaking, but you can't hear them. Now I can. Joel is trying to reach you. I've sorted Joel. Okay. Nice. I hope you guys have understood and you have questions. I really like how, Joel, you're putting things into perspective because that's the way to go. Okay. So the trim function, okay, the trim function. So I'll just copy this set of data, but I'll delete everything here. Okay, I'll delete everything there. So I speak about the trim function because it's an important formula. What the trim function does help you is remove any extra spaces that may become in between words. And why is this important, you may ask? Okay, so for example, I have my word solo here, all right, and then if somebody maybe was using my cell, I use solo. You see, I've just added an extra space. Okay, look at this, at the formula bar I just added an extra space. So when I'm using my formula and I want to equate solo to this solo here, it will always give me a false. All right, you can see. So I have, because these words are technically not the same. All right, so what if I wanted now to solve this problem? What can I do? I can just come use the trim function, which now is a text function that removes any extra space. Now if I try to equate my solo, this one, to this one, all right, I'll find that the logical test comes true, because now these two words are technically the same because I've removed any extra spaces between them. So this is very important when maybe you pull data from a website and it has some extra spaces, and maybe you have some names of people. Maybe I had Kennedy, okay, maybe I was pulling results, okay, from a website, it came with that, and now I need to match it to Kennedy in my worksheet. Okay, so when I equate these two names, they can never be the same because of that one extra additional space. So whatever the trim function will help you do is remove any extra space. So just know that the trim function helps you to remove any extra space between words. Okay. Okay, so you see what I was telling you guys, when you write a text string without the speech marks, okay, that is now correct. Even if I add 10 spaces in between here, the word will still be true, okay, because it has the trim function inside here. Okay, that's what it does. So since we are learning about formulas and you're about to go and learn about very important formulas, I would like to show you three main errors. Okay, so the three main errors are as follows. Okay, this like the one that we had just seen there is the name error. So the name error is you usually find this one when maybe you write something that Excel I usually assume that it doesn't understand. Okay, maybe it's a formula, maybe we were using our sum ifs. Okay, so you're using your sum ifs, but now instead of giving Excel sum ifs, you give it sum if. Then you write this sum if that, maybe sum if maybe in that range. Okay, I don't know if I'm getting, yeah. So if I give it a word that it does not understand, it will usually give me a name error. Okay, so if in case you just want to know more about it, you can go on the help of the error and it will take you to this dialog box, and then you'll come check. I don't know if it will load now. Okay, it doesn't load, so it's okay. So this, you can notice somewhere that usually an invalid name, okay, or invalid name or an invalid formula. Okay, is there a hand up? Dominic? Am they just they were just saying hi? You know, sometimes people think they're saying hi to the tutor maybe, uh, and they end up raising their hands by mistake. So it's still okay to say hi to the tutor. No worries. Okay, so we go back to our name error. Our name error is usually an invalid name to Excel. So you can just note down that when you find a name error, I can now I need to check and ensure that now I can get the correct formula. Once I tap it, I can get such a thing. Okay, I know I've gotten such a range because I've not again followed the syntax of the. So if I was to sum if, I will sum if just the way we have done. But if I add anything to the formula, like sum if, just you miss anything, all right? Basically, you'll get a name error, okay? So the other type of error is who knows? A value. A value error, and we have the, I don't know if I'll be able to recreate a value error. Maybe this multiply by a text. Yep. Okay. So this value error happens when you multiply maybe a text string with a with a number. Okay, so when you find a value error, just go and check your formula that you're not multiplying a text with a number. Okay, because that can't happen. So because which kind of data type will you be expecting? A number cannot be multiplied with a string. Okay, so you'll always be finding this kind of error. So a value error is usually when you multiply a text string with a number. Okay, so you can just go ahead and try, maybe write a name and multiply it by 1. It will always give you a value error. So the next one should be an NA error. This one I know we are going to just look at it in a bit, but since I'm speaking about errors and it's only right, I show you errors. Okay, you might not be able to replicate it as at now, but I'll just show you. I'll just use a basic VLOOKUP. Don't worry about this, you're going to learn it in a few minutes. So my lookup value is this, in that, and then 1, and then exact match. So maybe that's why I was telling you the trim function is very important. I'll just remove the trim part here, okay, so that I'll remain with a solo. I'll just type solo. Okay, you see it gives me an answer here. All right, but when this name had a space and had not trimmed it, it will give me an NA error. NA is not a value not available error. Okay, so this value is not available in what I was looking for in my range. This value cannot be found. Okay, because maybe I typed it wrongly, maybe I added an extra space that is not there. But once I delete the space, these formulas will always show me that whatever you're looking for can be found in that range. Okay, so moving on swiftly, guys, because these are just types of errors. I won't dwell on them so much because I don't again believe we are going to be making any erratic errors. Okay, so once you know what you want to do, you won't mess up with the error. Don't write a wrong formula. Don't multiply a value with a string, add a numeric value, be it a whole number, decimal number is a string. And then don't when you search for your things, make sure your names are always written correctly. Okay, so with that being said, I'll go on to the concatenate. Is there somebody speaking? Dominic, you had raised your hand. You are now speaking. Do you have a question? Yes, go ahead. You entered too many arguments. Okay. Too many argumentos. So too many arguments. Remember, uh, remember something like a sum if, for example, right? So maybe we want to, okay, let me just use a count if because it only has two requirements. So a count if, okay? So for example, I was counting if the range this, okay? FNF4. Then I want to choose something here so that I demonstrate it. So here it's G something, G6. Let me even write a G on A. Is there anybody who has a G on A inside here? So guys, you can see here I just wrote the correct formula of a countif because I told Excel to count if how many Giones are inside here. Okay, so Gione hata nyinyi mnajionea ni moja, right? It's only one. So what if, remember the syntax or the arguments in this formula are just two. What if I went ahead and wrote another number like 8? Okay, a part that is not part and parcel of that syntax. Okay, so you'll always find you've entered too many arguments for this function because Excel knows for a countif I only need two arguments, a range and a criteria. And you can see once you click on them, they'll always turn blue. So I have my range, I have my criteria, but I've added something alien to that formula so that when I enter it, it gives me that error. Okay, right, Dominic? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. No, if it's false, you don't have a comma. That's just remove the last comma because you see, look at the formula, Dominic. It has a logical test. It has a value if true, then comma, then value if false, close the bracket. The last comma is not supposed to be there. Same thing would have happened here. You know, when you leave a comma in Excel, it just takes it as if you have written an imaginary number 0. Even if I put my comma there, I will still have that option. So remove the last comma before the bracket, the last bracket. I think it should be working now, the formula. Yeah. Yes, that is the issue. There's another hand up. Kindly go ahead so that we move on to our formula, to our VLOOKUP. Sorry, concatenate. Left, right, then VLOOKUP. There's a hand up. I can't see your name, but let me just click inside. Omondi. Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you for that question, Dominic. Maybe too many arguments. Just note that it's when you surpass the maximum number of arguments needed for a certain formula. So the concatenate function, the trim function, as I had alluded earlier, this is just it's more of a text function, formula or text function. So the next one is also concatenate. Okay. So concatenate it's usually very important maybe when you want to make automatic statements. Okay, so like you want to maybe in your formulas you're concatenating something. Okay, so maybe I don't know, I have maybe a formula that selects something, or maybe it's a date. Okay, maybe you want to just join two things at the same time. Okay, so you can always use a concatenate function. This is how you can use it. You can always use your concat. Okay, so when you have the first text and then you select the second text, Okay, all right. So you see, I've just joined that. It doesn't make sense as at now, but I can add something inside the middle is at. Can add spaces just to make it more. So okay, let me just add another space inside here. So I can now say, you see, and then I can use, I'll show you up how to use maybe add a proper. So you see, I've written this price, and if I wanted everything to be like this brand, this, I can just use, let me just use a particular model like B3. So if I was maybe marketing this, I can now have my all my headers as the Solo T1000 Black 4GB is at that price. Okay, so I can even go ahead and format this maybe to prices so that just looks a little bit better. Remember, formatting easily. Go to FNF1, sorry, Control 1, then format your numbers to your liking. Okay, so here it might not carry in the formatting, but I can show you, though it's a little bit okay, that will confuse you a little bit, but I'll show you later how you can format and now within a text, now a number. Okay, so but the main thing about concat really is when you look in this syntax, it just take two texts and add them to become one. So even if I drag this formula, I will have maybe my LG L90 dual white 8GB is at 10,495. Remember, you have just dragged down your formula and you didn't have to write all these names. So a concatenate just usually helps you to write text. So you can either use the concat in the function, just like I've shown here. Okay, so some of you might be seeing this word proper. So in Excel, there are three ways you can format: either uppercase, lowercase, or just every first letter to be in an uppercase. So you can always use, there are three formulas. There's the upper, okay, there's the proper, and I do think there's the is it the lower? Yes, the lower. Usually keep confusing it with another function, so it's the lower. Okay, so for example, I had something that is not well formatted here, like I'll just copy this carbon, okay, this word here. Okay, you can all see I'll just make some letters mixed up. I'll make that one B and then make that one maybe small carbon. So you see this word, if I wanted everything to be in an uppercase, I just go to upper, sorry, I go to upper, all right, and then I use this. Okay, so if I want it to be in proper, so that only the first letter is in an uppercase, that is what I use. Then if I want everything to be in lowercase, that is what I used here. Okay, so this is upper. As you can see in the formula bar, this is proper, where only the first letter in the string is in an uppercase, then lower, everything is in a lowercase. All right, so that's why you might have seen here I put a proper. Now this is now a combination of a formula between the concat and the proper. So after my concat formula, I put a proper so that everything now appeared in everything appeared the first letter was always in caps. Okay, so you can always use a combination of text and string formulas just to make maybe your formula look better. So here, concat and proper. Okay, I hope you are all together and I'm not leaving anybody behind. If you feel left behind, kindly just go ahead and say, so that we don't leave any of our person behind. So the left right functions are very important. One, who remembers what I said about text to column? Anybody who can remember this function under text to column? Is there anybody who can remember this function text to column? Whatever I'm highlighting here, remember it's under the data tab, text to column. Okay, what is this? What is this that I'm pointing here? What function does it do? Anybody in the chat box so that I can know we are together? Okay. Sorry. I just saw a comment that I'm too fast. I'll repeat that. How do we count the length of a text? That I'll do. Sorry, my mic is messed up. Please explain to any arguments, error. Okay. You're too fast. Repeat on the concat formula. Okay. Alright. This is for Catherine, Charlotte. Yes. Thank you, Mboya, for answering my question. That is correct. That is what the text to column does. So, Catherine, be very keen as I explain this. This is for you. The concat formula is used to combine words, okay? Maybe I wanted even to say Kennedy will buy a certain phone here. Maybe a solo this price, okay? So, and maybe this is something that keeps changing. This is data that keeps changing every day. Or I want this to be applied to every column. Let me just move these ones here so that I get to explain here. Maybe I'll just pick like 5 people here. Remember this had some names like Paul Adebo. I'll just pick them here, copy them here, formulas text. Yeah, all right, student names. Okay. Maybe I want to combine and say that Paul Adebo bought a solo T1000 black 4GB at this price, okay? So what can I do? I can go and use the concat function. You can always read up a little bit on the explanation of the formula. It tells you to concatenate a list of range or text strings, okay? So that's what we want to exactly do. Okay, so here I use the concat, so I want to say this student, okay? I want to say bot. I just add my text string inside here. Remember, I have to bot, yeah, this one, bot, okay? Right comma, this phone, okay? At, all right, comma, this amount, okay? Or this amount, okay? Look at what happens. It will give me Paul Adebo bought solo T1000 for black 4GB at 96.53. So even if I went ahead and dragged it down, it will tell me what Marcel Ateman bought a Lenovo at that amount. So it's just basically to concatenate your text and the string. Somebody may ask, how is that important? Remember, you may have a day in, day out report that changes within the day, and you might need to maybe even change something like the date. Okay, so maybe you might write a report. Maybe you have a word report. You don't want to keep changing the date. You might even forget changing the date in the morning while you're sending the report. So you might use the concat function. Okay. Okay, concat. So if you use this concat function, if you use this concat function, you can just go ahead and maybe select. Okay, sorry. If you use this concat function, you can just come here and say maybe financial, maybe daily report. As that, and then use another formula. I'll show you today. Okay, sorry, today. Okay, so I'll need to format this. That's what I was talking about. Since it's inevitable how to format a date or amount, but I'll just I'll just use it for explanation purpose. Maybe day, month, then year. Okay. So you see, even if I had this, I had to write maybe a heading to all my reports in the morning before sending them. Trust me, when I use this formula and I have a today inside here, it will always be changing. Don't worry about much of the formatting. I didn't want to go to this, but just this is just to explain maybe to Catherine so that she understands what concatenation is all about. You can combine text strings that exist already in cells, or maybe even a dynamic header. Okay, so if you have this as a dynamic header, it will keep changing. Today, tomorrow it will change. When now I can even have today minus 1. So if I have always have to write yesterday's date, I have today minus 1, it will give me such a kind of report. Okay, don't worry so much about this. This is just how you can format maybe the date that you want. Okay, so if maybe I just wanted a date with a full month here, just add an M and then it gives me that. So but don't worry so much about this formatting. Just get fast to learn what the formula does. The other alternative, if you find the concat function too cumbersome for you, you can always use the ampersand sign. So the ampersand sign will also give you the same selection that or same solution that the concat function does. It just acts the same as the concat function, just that you have maybe to create in some spaces, but it just acts the same sign. So the ampersand sign is the sign in above 7, the shift 7. Okay, so if you want to maybe concatenate that, you can always use that. So you can always use the function which is there, the concat we have looked at, or the ampersand sign. Okay, I hope you have understood, Catherine. So there's somebody who had preempted something that we can do. There was this, how do we count the length of a text? Okay, how do we count the length of a text? That is actually what I was going to say next, len. Okay, so for example, I want to count how many he asked how many texts are in this name Paulson Adebo. Okay, so if I wanted to count the characters, okay, I'll just copy this so that I just have something that is complete, maybe to 20. Remember, these formulas are quite a bit and you can only get them if you use them. Okay, I'll just copy a name here since I'm not in the mood to copy another one. Let me just call him Buka. Okay, so if I wanted to know how many characters are in this name Paulson Adebo, as you can clearly see or count, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh my god, how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, I'm wondering. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, it includes the space. That's why. Okay, yeah. It includes the space as a character. Okay, so be very keen on that. So if I remove the space in between the names, now the names become as they were. Okay, so there's somebody who had preempted that question, and that was who? That was somebody here. Stony. I hope you can see that len, L-E-N, helps you to count the length of your characters in a string. Okay, so apart from that, from this len function, okay, I just copy this formatting. This is very important. Maybe I just want to see. Remember, before I went a little bit back, I'll push this to the side a little bit. before I went back, I had asked you how we can use the how we can use the this function here, text to column. Okay, maybe I wanted now a column with everybody on their own column, like the first name, second name. Maybe you're doing even a merge on the letters and you need only the first name and the second name. Let's do that. Okay, so I'll just come here. I want you to see this clearly, that's why I'm copying it to another new worksheet. So I just copy them here. Okay, let's use the function above here. Okay, so I want these names to be separated into the first and second name. I go to my text to column, I go to my delimited. I know they're delimited with a space inside there. Okay, so I press OK. Next. So you'll see that I have my first name there, I have my second name there, and since this one had 3, I have my third name. Okay, but this might be Baker Junior. Okay, so this again, text to column might mislead you. Okay, let me just go back to this is the original set of names. So here we have separated the student's name from the first name and the second name, but this one gave us a third name using uh using the text to column. So there is always a text formula that you can use now again to check. Okay, to separate names. Okay, maybe that is what I'm supposed to hint. Okay, the left and the right. So the left and the right, as you can see in our notes, the left, it counts how many characters from the left. Okay, so maybe I just wanted 4 characters from the left. I use the left function. Sorry, I use the left function here. I go to that, then I say how many characters do I want? 4. Who knows what it will give me? It will give me a poll because it will count 4 characters from the start. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next name it should be giving me Zach, Kiko, Step. Okay, okay, I'll just show you just in a minute. It might be a okay, I've seen your question. So here you have that. So left just gives you, let me just explain this, Tony, and then I'll get back to you. Left, you have how many number of characters do you want from the left? Okay, and then right, now just in the same breath, how many characters you want from the right? Okay, just copy this formula format, sorry. So this one again, just choose right, then the text, then how many characters from the right I need. Maybe if I choose 5, I'll just have the name Adebo. Okay, all right, is that in order? Have you understand the length? The length now gives you the total length of the characters. Left gives you the how many characters from the left that you chose. Here we chose 4, here we chose 5. Okay, then there was a question by 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 Stony. Stony asks, first, you can choose to Stony. There are 2 ways you can choose to do. Okay, one is the way that I've said. You can choose to use the concat function. Okay, so for example, I'll say right. I can use right of this text, right, and say 1. Okay, then whatever it gives me, I want to. I'll just use the concat here. Once it gives me the first letter on the right, I also want it to give me the first letter on the right of this cell. Okay, so how many? I just want to, sorry, left. Okay, I also left, and I just want 1 character. So I'll have the initials of everybody from that. Okay, that is when I have separated, when I have two columns. Okay, like I have two columns that are now the names are like Paulson and Debu. I'll just have my ZA, my PA, my JA. You can also use the, as we had said, you can use the and sign in between this. Okay, all right. So the other way will be a bit will be a bit getting them, if you have not separated them, will require you to use another function in between that maybe might not it might not be very yeah, right to use it as of now, because maybe some people might not understand it, or it might lose some few people. But you can use a function with inclusive of a search. Okay, a search, what a search does, a search finds something within a text. Okay, so like this one, I can tell it to search what to find with find text. So maybe I want a space. Okay, and then it finds it in between this. You can tell me how many spaces there are. It finds that one space, or I can just do it like that. Then okay, so when it finds that, I can tell it maybe, okay, I'll just confuse some of you. So I'll rather just go with this option, but in case you need to know how to do it, Stony, from this, I can just send you the solution. You use the search, then incorporate the whole length of this, then tell Excel, from that space, I need the first letter, and then from the beginning, I need the first letter. Okay, so when I search for this, I search for that space, give me the first letter after that space. Okay, all right. I hope you have understood, but if you need that solution, I can send it to you. Okay. So that being said, I think the right, the left functions are well in order. This one, you might use it. Maybe you have a set of numbers and you need to mask. Okay. Maybe you have, assume these were different numbers. Maybe for numbers, I'll just type in maybe a phone number here. Any. Maybe you've been given numbers and you want to mask a certain number of letters. Okay, maybe you want to mask a certain number of letters. You can always do, okay, how many letters do you want from the left? I want to have maybe 3. Okay, all right, and then you can use the concat. Okay, I want to have 3 numbers from the left, then I want to have 3 stars, right? 1 2 3. Okay, then what do I want? I want to also have 3 numbers from the right. Okay, so if I was to send anybody this number, okay, I can even have let me just have 254 here, so that they appear like real numbers. Okay, I'll just add 254, and this, it will give me a name. Okay, for digit it works somehow. So for example, you're sending somebody or the way Safaricom does nowadays, when issuing M-Pesa statements, it masks out some numbers. Maybe you have some data that you want to mask out because maybe of some security reasons. So here I can have 6, and you just want to maybe show the 3 numbers. You can use the concat, left those numbers, then you put some asterisks in all those different numbers, and you'll have masked them. Okay, so that is one use of the right left combination in the concat. Okay, so guys, I want us to don't dwell so much on those formulas, because sometimes you'll find yourself not using them as much as you use the formulas that we're about to discuss. Okay, so here,
What happens to replace that?
yes,
What happens to replace?
Replace just replaces. I can just show you how it works. For example, Now we want to replace all these stars with maybe something like a slash, okay? So what do you want to... Let me just, it's long since I used this one, but I'm just checking the syntax because it should be the old text. Start now. Okay, I hope I'm not confusing it with a substitute. Okay. Okay, let me just confirm that this is what I was talking about. Okay, what I was actually talking about is a substitute. Okay, a substitute. Sorry, I'll just check the syntax of replace and how it works. Then I'll tell you in a minute. So maybe you want to replace a certain thing in everything in your file. You can always use the substitute. For example, here, when you check the substitute, it gives you the the syntax is text. You go to the old text, what you want to replace, the new text, what you want to appear, then how many in the instance number, that like the first time. Okay, so if it was the second time, just leave it as it was. Okay, so that is the substitute. I think I was confusing that with the replace. So the replace, let me just see the old text if it just talks the same. Okay, let me see, start now, maybe one. Characters. I'm not really sure because I've not used this formula before, but I'll just confirm and maybe tell you. Okay, I've not used the replace function before, so I'll go read about its replaces a part of a text string with a different text string. Yeah, okay, so this one replace old text. Okay, okay, so this is the old text. Start numcar 1, 2. With let me just see, maybe z. Okay. So what happens to the replacer is you have your old text, whatever you want replaced. Okay, so it gives you the start, where do you want to start, okay, and how many number of characters do you want to replace, and what do you want to replace them with. Okay, like for example, here we had this number here, this is what we selected, then old text, then the the starting number is the first one. Okay, so what if we selected 2? Okay, so what happens, you see, now it leaves the first character, right, and then goes to the second one with the text, if I'm not wrong. But that you can always follow the syntax. So long as you understand the syntax and try it out, it can always guide you. Okay, so I'll not dwell on that so much, but you can, there are various formulas maybe to replace something. For me, maybe changing something that has already been done, the substitute always works for me. But you can read up the syntax so long as you understand. Okay, so guys, without any further ado, I will ask us to go now to some of the majorly used formulas by most spreadsheet users. These are the VLOOKUPs, and the index and match. Okay, guys, are we together? Is it too, am I too fast? Am I coherent? Yes. Okay. Yes. It's cell by cell. All right. So remember, all these formulas, you can replicate them in you just have to drag them. Okay, so but if it was in a table, for example, You just enter the formula in one cell, then everything is changed. But for this, you can use the trim function by just dragging down the formula. All right. Okay. Any other question? Remember, all these formulas that we are using, we can use them in a whole range of data. They are not limited to just one place. Okay, like this formula that I used, remember I didn't have to write anything for this. Okay, so it just followed the same pattern. Okay, yeah, thanks for that question. Okay, so I'll go ahead and yes. It is, I can't hear you clearly on my side. I don't know if it's me only or it's everybody. Uh-huh. Oh, here. Yeah, but you just need to know that you just need to look at the syntax. You first start with the text, okay? That oh, yes, the one that you want to replace something that is inside, okay? Then what is the old text that you want to replace? You want what is the old thing that you want to replace that is inside that text, okay? What do you want to be put? For example, if I was to put, what is your name? Rayton. So if I was to put Rayton at each and every instance that that star is, that will be my news text. Then the first instance, okay? So if I drag down this formula, it will have the word, the number, this 254717. I didn't want the stars. I want the stars. I wanted the stars replaced with the name Rayton, and that is what exactly was done. And then the last three numbers, 643. All right. The instance at the instance number usually means after I find it, at how many instances should I change? Okay, but now since it was only one with that text, that is the match it did. Okay, but you can try it out and just since you now really understand the syntax, you can always try these things out. Okay. All right, so VLOOKUP, I'll just go directly to VLOOKUP, guys, because I know there might be a few questions here and there about the VLOOKUP, and I'll explain what the VLOOKUP is. It's now this is a function that looks inside a table, okay, and gets you what you want, okay. For example, now, let me just again increase my range of data so that I now want to bring in some students just for uh, just for explanation purposes. I'll just use maybe how many? Maybe 5 or 10. 10 is usually a good number. Just minimizes my column so that you can follow through. Okay, so I'll write here VLOOKUP. Okay, so for example, you want to search and see which phone a University of Nairobi student would buy from this table. Okay, so which phone will a student of university or maybe Kenyatta University, while you just type the name here, you want to see which phone they will buy. Okay, which phone they will buy, how much will it be, and the amount. Okay, all right, guys, you can just read up the notes. I wouldn't want to read up for you because I will explain using the syntax. Okay, so I just want us to look at the VLOOKUP syntax. So you can always read up this. Looks for a value in the leftmost. Just mark leftmost column of a table. Leftmost, okay? So it must be from the leftmost column of a table, okay? This it looks from the leftmost column of a table, then returns the value in the same row from a column that you specify. Okay, by default, the table must be, that one is not very important, but the table must always be sorted from ascending to descending. That being said, our university must come here. Okay, you see, I have to change the placement of university, because we look up, when you give it a table, it will look at the leftmost column. Okay, so I just delete this because it will be a repetition. And now I want us to oops, ready to be installed. I install later. So VLOOKUP, the lookup value, what are you looking for? Okay, so I'll just look up for, I'll just say, maybe I'll just create a small validation here. So to get to see, I won't remove the duplicates, but you can always remove the duplicates to get a cleaner and crispier data validation. So it hung a little bit, but now you're okay. Server didn't want a PowerPoint, but okay. So I just want to create a little validation using a list. This is my source. Let me use Kenyatta University. So I want to VLOOKUP. Okay, so remember what we said at VLOOKUP. It looks at the leftmost column in a table, then returns the value in the same row, the column you specify. By default, that. So when you look up the VLOOKUP syntax, there's the lookup value, what you're looking for. Okay, then there's the table array. Okay, so for example, the lookup value, I'll select, I'm looking for Kenyatta University. Okay, then comma, table array, from which table? So I'll select this table. Okay, from that table. Okay, then I'll ensure that my ranges are locked. Then from which column do you want your solutions to be given? Okay, so I find Kenyatta University, which is in the first column. What do you want to be given? I want to be given something in column maybe 3. I say 3. Okay, then it will ask me, do you want a true match or an approximate match or an exact match? I'll just type in exact match, which is a false. False stands for exact match. True, an approximate match. So it will tell me that the first student of Kenyatta University I find in your table, you will buy a carbon. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and check. In the first student I find of Kenyatta University, it's true to their words, bought a carbon. Okay, so I'll maybe copy my formula just as it is here. Maybe here I'll just have I'll change here to maybe 4, just to see the price that they bought at, and maybe what was their name. So you'll just be counting. Remember, it now counts every column from the beginning. This is 1 2 3 4. Okay, so if I highlight this, you'll always see the number of columns indicated up here. Okay, so this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. I'll show you how you can use the match function to count in a little bit. Okay, so I will want if I was just checking or maybe creating a list, or just I wanted to find something in my table. Remember, you'll be having very big tables. You have 100,000 rows. Okay, and you don't know how to go about it. So if I wanted to find a Kenyatta student, the phone they will buy, it will truly be a Cabron. It will be of this amount, and that student's name will be Steven Anderson. Okay, so if I went to maybe Jomo Kenyatta and see, I will see that the students of Jomo Kenyatta will buy a Micromax worth 5203, and their name will be Andre Bakelia. So if I come and confirm here, is that when I look for Jomo Kenyatta, I'll have true, they bought a Micromax worth 5203 and their name was Andre Bakelia. Okay, so that's a VLOOKUP. I will repeat once more because I know it can be quite confusing at the beginning. So I will just do another VLOOKUP just so that everybody follows. So a VLOOKUP looks like that. Okay, so whatever you're looking for, it tells you inside you must have a lookup value. What are you looking for? Okay, I'm looking for this. We said it looks at the leftmost column. So if whatever you're looking for, remember, just like a count, if in the range, if it is not in the leftmost column, then your formula won't work. All right, so the lookup value looks at the leftmost column. In this case, we put our college as the leftmost column so that we search. Okay, so we know we were looking for Jomo Kenyatta. All right, so our leftmost column was this column. Okay, so we locked it. Okay, then it asks you which table are you looking from. Then you select now the range of all the things. You come select everything down there, then you lock the range. Okay, then it asks you, okay, I'm just ensuring that, okay, I had my lookup value, which is the school, then I had my table array. Then the next thing it asks for is the column or index. What happens when I just write one? I'm just writing one just for for demonstration purpose. If I write one and I look for Jomo Kenyatta, I'll always find Jomo Kenyatta because it brings me the results from the first column. What if I go ahead and write two? It will give me results from the second column. Sorry, let me just check this. Lookup table array. Okay. I had not expanded my table. So you should always ensure that your table has the full range of what you want. Okay, so if I put 2 in my search, it searches Jomo Kenyatta in the first column, but then gives me the result of what in the second column. Okay, so everybody can see a Micromax from Jomo Kenyatta University, a Micromax canvas. So what if I give it 3? It's supposed to give me this Micromax. Okay, so at this point I want everybody to try this in their worksheet and ensure that it works. Okay, the VLOOKUP formula is a very important formula that it's the basic like formula for it's a to go to formula. Okay, but now before moving an inch higher to index and match, so the index and match formula is a little bit now specific. It can search from any column. It doesn't have, because most of the times you'll find that you can't rearrange your data from the leftmost column so that you start searching, so it limits you a little bit. Okay, so it's because this is an advanced Excel class, we wouldn't leave it out. Okay, so guys, have you understood the lookup value? All right, the table array, the column index number, and the range lookup or the match type. All right, I want any questions on the VLOOKUP? Yes, that is correct. Once it finds the the first solution, that is what it will give you. So even if I wrote 5 of them, and for example here, if I chose University of Nairobi, you see there are two people here, right? There is this who bought a solo and there's this who bought a GeoName. Okay, so it will only give me the solo answer. So it will give me solo what 9563 has, and the student was uh, who was this? Paulson Adebo. Okay, so if I wanted it to give me the second solution, it finds Now that will have to be another, I'll have to insert another formula, okay, which is more complex at that. It's an offset formula in which I tell it, it first checks the first, if it doesn't, if the first one is already there, it gives me the second solution. But I wouldn't want us to go to that first. I would want us to understand the index part. The VLOOKUP. Okay. Anybody else? That was a good question. So it will always give you the solution that it finds first. So if it finds this one first, it stops there, gives you all the other details. Okay. I can't hear you. Is there anybody speaking? Is there a question? Is there any question? Does silent means that we have all understood? Okay. So again, something else, you should always ensure that whatever you're looking for is written in the correct manner. What if I went ahead? Okay. I was using a validation just to explain, but I will remove it, okay? So I'll remove it and type Moi University. Okay, so what if I type something that maybe does university with a university? You'll find that this is the error that we're speaking about, okay? Because now the VLOOKUP looks up upon your column, it doesn't find this university and always gives you an NA error, okay? Because maybe you have written something that does not exist, something that is not right in spelling, or something, maybe somebody mistyped it while they were typing. So if I change here to university, that one will be found, but usually that is not the case. You should usually use the conventional practices of just ensuring that your university is, or the spellings are correct, so that even if you share file among your peers, they can use them without a problem. Okay, you guys, have you understood this part? Because it was a very important part in my delivery, to make sure that everybody understands the VLOOKUP and how it can be used to in certain situations, maybe to look up something. Okay, all right. So I see there is a function that was written there to be tackled, and I think I'll just tackle it in that error, because I do believe there was some wisdom in doing so. Okay, the if error, this was the VLOOKUP. So we have another function that is called an if error. Now, just from the name, when you find an error, okay, what do you want the reader to know? Do you want them to check? Do you want them to check the? Do you want them to check the error? Do you want them to uh, to to recheck the spelling, or do you want just it to be having a standard response? For example, if I had an error in my formula, I just come in front of my formula, type the if error function. Okay, this is the if NA function, that this just resolves the NA, but sometimes you just want any type of error, be it a name error, be it a value error. What do you want to happen? So this has to uh, uh, also two arguments. It has a value argument, and it has a value if error argument. All right, so the value if error argument is what you can type. You can only say maybe name not found. Okay, so when you tell it name not found, what happens when I click my formula? It will just give me that when I search for Moi University. But when the spelling is right, it will always give me the right answer for my solution. So when somebody types in maybe something that is non-existent, for example, I'm just use this one cell, it will give me a name not found. But this, remember, is something that you've specified here. Okay, I can just you can always tell the person to recheck spelling. Okay, if you're sure that something that they're typing, it should be there, but there it cannot be found, you can tell them to recheck the spelling, in which they can do and find the correct thing that you're looking up in the table. Okay, are we together, guys? I need to know that you're together. I can see you're all attentive, but I can only know you're together if you tell me so. Okay? Yes, go ahead. Yes. Okay. Okay, two. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You want to get the prices of? Sorry, you want to get the prices of? Okay. Okay. This is what I would say. The VLOOKUP doesn't give you an option of displaying an array. Okay, so the VLOOKUP doesn't give you an option of displaying an array. So that is one thing to note. If you want an array, we can always use the offset function. Okay, but since I wouldn't want to go to the offset function before first finishing what I have here, I will look at that. But just to note that if you wanted the prices of maybe a certain university, it wouldn't be prudent to use maybe something like the VLOOKUP in terms of a formula. Okay, we'll also see how you can rely now or leverage on something we call a pivot table. Okay, we'll see how to use a pivot table now to have all your solutions in one. Okay, because the way Excel works, mostly for this the VLOOKUP, the index and match, once it finds a solution it stops. Okay, but if you want to create an array of Kenyatta University students, remember there's something else that you can do. Okay, here, let me just go back. Okay, okay. Where is it? Yeah. You- I just want this most. I want I'll just find the right example to show you just in a while. Okay, in which you can select everything that meets a certain criteria, but you don't give it like an average or a some some function. Okay, so that it doesn't aggregate it. You'll always find an array spilling out of the cell. Okay, so maybe we might come back to that later. Okay, but meanwhile, uh if you do understand the basics of a VLOOKUP and an if error, maybe now we can go to the index and match, because now this again tackles the problem of not having to have your all that you want to search in the first column. You can create now a dynamic formula that you can search from any column, now based on a column and based on a row. Okay, and this is how it is done. So I'll just write index match here. So index, it's just an index function, but it is always used together with another function called match. Okay, so I'll start with the match function. The match function, okay, so for example, we now want Moi University. We want to find the name of the student, maybe from Jomo Kenyatta, University of Nairobi, who bought a Gione. Okay, so remember in the VLOOKUP, we couldn't do that unless, so I'll want to maybe just check these two. Okay, I want a person from a certain university, which is that university that I've specified, but now their name. Okay, so I'll use the index and match formula. So for the match, if you can read, it gives you the relative position of an item in the that matches a specified value in a specified order. Okay, so for example, if I just go, which is my lookup value in my match? For example, I'm looking for the University of Nairobi. Which is my lookup array? This is my lookup array. Okay, and which match type do I have? I want an exact match, so I'll just type in a 0. So you'll see that the name University of Nairobi in this is position 2. That is the relative position. So whatever an index and match does, it uses relative positions. For example, it checks where this University of Nairobi is, and then I'll tell it to check the column number written name. So it will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which I have had to do. So I'll just do, and then another match for the row, just to find the name, this name's position. So I'll just do match. So I want to find the word name. Okay, so I'll just go up here, select all that row. Okay, and then I'll ensure that I lock this. And then I'll ensure that what type of I want an exact match. Okay, so you'll see that it gives me 11, because from the start, this, if I count, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So these are 11 columns from the first column. Okay, then the University of Nairobi was position 2 from the top, so it is 1, 2. So again, now I use like the relative position of that thing. Okay, so if I was to search another university like technical, if I wrote it here, it will tell me that now technical is still in position 9, but the name that you're looking for is in position 11. So it will give me this position of 9, and then this one will be 11. I'll be given this name of Kawan Baker. Okay, so this is how the formula is written now. It's a combination of this part, the first part, and the second part. So it is index. Okay, so for the array, I'll choose my whole array. Okay, then I'll lock it. All right, then match. I want to match now whatever is in the row. You see how the syntax looks like? Tells me the row number, to give it the row number. Okay, so for the row number, I'm using a match inside it. Okay, so a match, the lookup value is technical university here. All right, so I check it from here, FN4. Then I give it, I want an exact match. All right, then I want something else. I want now the column number. Okay, so for the column number, what do? I do another match. Okay, so I'll match the word name inside the column, this one, which is the first one in my array, and then I'll press OK. So it tells me whatever you're searching for. If you're searching for a person from the technical university and you're searching for their name should be Buddha Baker. And remember that is correct, since the first technical university it finds is that one, and the first name under the name column that it finds is Buddha Baker. Okay, so this makes it very dynamic, since if I have any other thing that I may want to, maybe I'll just copy this formula down just to show you. This is an NA because now it goes ahead. I didn't lock these two, and you see the problem of not locking because they move one step down. Okay, so I'll just ensure that. So for example, I just wanted to change, and now I don't want to be looking at their names, but on this one I want them to, so I can just change this cell. I want them to give me the maybe the sales price in which they got. I can just change that now to do that. Okay, so it will just give me without having to calculate the column number manually. Okay, even if I wanted to see a type of phone that is not necessarily from the leftmost column, I will just have to change a little bit of the things here, which are, now I can come change this row column. You remember it has started from A1 to A10. Okay, I can come have it in A, B, or C. So I can have, actually I can just take it to C. Okay, so whatever I'm looking for now will change a little bit. Maybe now from the C, I want to see who bought maybe who bought a Micromax. Okay, so what happens, and to see who bought a Micromax, it will tell me the name is Josh Andrews. Okay, let me just delete this so that I doesn't confuse you. This one we didn't change. You can just change it to that one, and you tell me Josh Andrews bought a Micromax. Okay, so here if you see who bought a Micromax, it's Josh Andrews, bought it at 43.91. Okay, maybe if I want another brand just to see who bought what, I can type in there the person who bought a Gionnaire is Zach Allen and bought it at a certain price. Okay, so this is a very, very important formula. You'll find that it's very important in terms of even how you just work. Okay, because again it can be used to automate a lot of things. Okay, like for example the problem of the one that my friend wanted all the maybe Kenyatta University's prices. Okay, if I might, have you guys understood that part before I solve this problem? Because his might be more, it might require another formula on top of this that now offsets every price of Kenyatta University students that it find using now a count. Remember, all these formulas can be used in together. So if I have a count of 50 students, I just tell that formula to first find the first Kenyatta University students, then give me the prices for the next 50 students, but now based on a certain count. Okay, but I wouldn't want to do that because I wouldn't want everybody to be confused at the initial moment, so that you even don't get the basics. First understand the basics, understand the syntax, then you'll be good. Okay, so guys, do you have any questions here? I see Wendy has left. I don't know if she has left because of the internet or things are quite hot. Today we have done quite some new formulas, and maybe they were a bit challenging in the beginning, but worry not, because once you keep doing this, you will get the mastery of it. Okay, remember guys, I'll be sending a project before today midnight, so that you can start working on it and submit it, which is meant to cover tomorrow's class. Okay, so as we had been told on the onboarding, we will be sending an assignment that it's supposed to be done and submitted earliest by, I think, Sunday morning. It will be sent through the Google Classroom. You just submit there, and then everything will be okay. We'll grade it. It's easier for grading, for commenting, maybe. Yeah, so guys, I want questions on these formulas too. I have to I know that if error should not be a big challenge, but I know somebody might have been stuck somewhere, maybe writing their index and match formula, because it's very, very tricky in the beginning. since you're matching two things, you're matching a row and you're matching a column. Okay. Kabila, are you with me? Yes, have you written the formula? Okay. That's a very good feedback. Okay, just like Kabila, everybody, I urge everybody to go and work on that problem on their own so that you get to understand, because you can only do that. Uh, you can only understand that while you do it. Okay, are you together, guys? We'll choose another person because I believe we are all following, so that I get to know if you have been able to do the Stony. You said yes. Yes to what? Stony? Patricia had their hand up. Patricia, question? Yes, we are together. That's nice. I'm very glad for that. Okay, Patricia, you had a question. Just raise your voice so that we can hear you before maybe. Patricia? Okay, Wendy had not left. I think it was the internet. Okay. All right, that's nice. Have you understood? Have you guys understood? I need to hear your feedback. Have you understood the index and match? Okay, Joel, that's nice. Okay. So, there was a question that was asked. Maybe let me just write this one. Offset. I wouldn't want to confuse anybody. I would want to ensure like everybody has gotten something from this class. Okay. So there's a person who had asked a question. I didn't get their name correctly. I'm just looking at my initial table just to get some data, smartphone data. Okay. I'll copy 50 or 100 columns from 50 to maybe 101, so that I have exactly 100 rows of data. Okay, just go ahead. Okay, whatever I'll do now is just sort them based on the college. Okay. So if I wanted an array, maybe based on something like how I'd been asked for, maybe Kenyatta University. Okay. Okay, don't get, I hope nobody will get confused using this formula, but we'll just base it on the things that we have learned today. Okay. So maybe I'll just have my Kenyatta University there as the school, and then maybe I want some prizes. Maybe I want the types of phones. Maybe I want something else. Somebody give me an idea of what I want. Okay. Maybe I want their ages, because it seems like it's a school with very young people. So this is what I'll do. I'll do an index. Okay. So I'll just come highlight my whole data, select, okay, do an index. I will go ahead and match. What am I matching? I want to find Kenyatta University, right? At the first instance, right? So I find it here at the college, right? Since it's only on that. Then I want to find what else? Match 0. Okay, so I want to match this. I want, sorry, I want to match the price, which is in a certain column here. Okay. Okay, then I want to find FNF4, then I want to find 0. Okay, so at that first instance, I'll check why my formula is not working. Seems like there's nobody from Kenyatta University in the first 100 columns, so I'll just choose another one just for demonstration purpose, maybe from Chuka. Okay, is it not working? N1 to N11 Q2. Oh, price, there's no column written price. I'll just replace that by sales price. Okay, so sales price I can still use. Let me just look for Kenyatta. Okay, this is Kenyatta. Okay, so guys, just begin and look at how we're doing it. So if I get to check the first Kenyatta University, I'll just take you and see what happens here. Kenyatta Uni there. So here is Kenyatta. So the first price of the first Kenyatta University should be this 10,128. But remember, I want an array for all the Kenyatta University students, which should be this 4. Okay, so I want to see these prices: 10,128, 11,824, 60, 80, and 14,526. So this is what I'll do. I'll go ahead and now use another formula called offset. Okay, see how it works. Offset, I will offset. Now that point should be my reference. Okay, so the rows that I want it to be offset with should be 0 and 0. Then I want its height. Okay, my array to be a count, okay, of, I want to count if, okay, I want to count if Kenyatta University, from which range? From this range. Okay, FN4, then I will have a 0, then I will have my width as just one cell. Okay, I'll just check what the error will be. Okay, let me just check that the reference rows column height. Let me just check this part. This is the part that is giving me an error, guys. Let me just check that it works correctly. But remember, this is more now on the complex side. I told it to count if, oh sorry, yeah, at the count if the criteria was wrong, since it's supposed to be Kenyatta University. So you see, this one now gives me an array of all those people in Kenyatta University in the first 100 columns who bought the phone. Okay, so if we go and check, because this is not a big list, if we check where's Kenyatta University, here is Kenyatta University, right? So if here is Kenyatta University, from this point, I'll just expand this. This is Kenyatta University, and all the students in this list from Kenyatta University who bought phones are these: 10, 128, 11, 824, 60, 80, and 14, 5, 26. So those are and that is exactly the array that we have here. Okay, so if we wanted maybe Chuka University, we can only see there are 2, and their 2 prices are this. Their 2 prices are 94.59 and 93.24. This is what we'll do. You just change the university here, okay, and you get now the array shortens. Okay, so if it was Egerton University, we know that our array should be having maybe 4 people with prices of maybe 49, 31, 11, 8, 24, 7, 703, and 31, 3108. So that is what I'll come and change here to get that array. Okay, so if I wanted now maybe to just change their prices, or maybe just see also something else, maybe the fonts that they were buying at these prices, I'll just lock my F2 here. Okay, so that I can drag this one across. I'll just check why this one. Okay, so the phone's, maybe the phone's title is or the brand, it's supposed to be the brand. So if you get the, okay, so here I just think I changed something wrongly, but now we should be able to replicate this formula all across. Maybe, okay, okay, so this one, and match it so much. Oh, this one was not, was the one which was bringing a challenge since it's not well captured. But now if I do this and do that, okay, so here, since it checks that one, it doesn't get, but you can check the edges. Okay, so I'll also maybe just insert here line. This is just for the question that had been asked to provide a range for certain things. Okay, so that is how maybe one could do it. Okay, so if you have such so inside the phone here, I'll write brand. Okay, so the people from Egerton University bought these phones, the Micromax. Okay, so it will give me the Micromax at that price, the Redmi at 7703, and the Kara at that. Are we together, guys? Hope this part can be a little bit confusing because you see how the formula is quite it's quite something. It's a combination of an index, there's a match, there's a countif, and then there's an offset outside. So, but the offset outside, just for your information, uses a reference, a row, a column, a height, and a width. So you specify all those things once whatever you're looking is found. Okay, then you can specify how many rows you want it to move, up or down. Up, you always go with a negative. Downwards, you go with a positive. How many columns do you want from your reference shifted? Then the height of the thing that you want, now we specified with a countif. Then the width, we just specified we only wanted one column. All right, so that was a good question. It just you just may be seeing ahead of what we were saying, and it's a good question to always be curious. Maybe you may just want an average of the prices of phones bought by uh, a certain people from a certain university. This formula will clearly give you the average. Maybe you have a very big list and you want an average of the prices of phones bought by students of a certain university, maybe in a survey, and you have such data, then you'll get it. All right, guys, are we together? Have you gotten it? Yes. What? Can you come again? Don't worry. That's why I chose not to answer it at that time because I knew I didn't want to confuse anybody at that initial stage. I wanted people first to just get the basics, just be able to write a basic formula with the right referencing before going on to such a complex formula. Because again, I've said this is a combination of 4 or 5 formulas because index is one, match is two, countif is three, then there is offset, the fifth formula. Okay, so but before you even go to that, just make sure first you understand the basics and all will be okay. Okay, is there any other question that I've not answered? Is there any other question on the things that we have looked today? The right formula, the left, the len, how to mask some things here and there, the VLOOKUPs, the index and match. All right, is there any other question? I cannot see my chat box. I think my other device has disconnected. But yeah, is there any other question, guys, before we call it a day? All right. So silence, I think, means consent. And at this point and juncture, I would like to thank all of you for attending the meeting and being really attentive and following through. So, guys, thank you very much. The assignment will be sent shortly, and let's meet tomorrow on Monday, God willing. All right. See you guys. Okay. Bye.
Hey,